I bet you didn't think that you'd be an estranged parent. What the heck did we do wrong?
Parents, stop trying to help and heal your ungrateful adult kids.
If you are giving your ungrateful adult kids more of a runway, you need to stop that. That comes with less.
You have to stop apologizing to your estranged kids.
They believe they should be at the head, a place they haven't earned yet.
No. You're not going to hand her a gift as she's kicking you out the door. You actually had raised a narcissist.
They blow up themselves in the end. You're the middle.
That was a long sigh, but that side had to be sided, if that makes sense.
Hello everybody, it is me, Salem, and welcome to my commentary channel where we take serious topics and dissect them in a not so serious way. Today's topic:
TikTok's most toxic, entitled, manipulative mom, also known as the DoormatMomNoMore on TikTok, that claims she's the victim and her kids going no contact with her. Meanwhile, all her content on her TikTok is about her blaming her kids and saying stuff like this.
You have to stop apologizing to your estranged kids. And if the only way that you can have a relationship with these kids is by acknowledging that their experience is the only one in the room, let them go.
You done lost your damn mind. When you get your damn mind, you call me.
Oh Lord, this is gonna be a long one. Hello everybody, it is me, Salem, and welcome back to my Chanel kind of sick edition. Lord have mercy. How are you guys doing? I hope you guys are feeling fun. I hope you guys are feeling good. I hope you guys are feeling excited to dive deep into today's video. I hope you guys aren't feeling sick like I am right now. I feel like I'm always starting off my videos with, hey guys, I'm sick. Y'all know the drill. My immune system is literally a microchip, and the microchip always gets compromised. I swear I could be in a room with one person that is 100 miles away from me, and if they are somewhat sick and just look in my direction, that's God's cue to be like, well, stamp approved, Salem's getting sick within the next 24 hours. I hate being chronically ill. So if I seem a little low energy, if my voice is a little coarse throughout this video, it's because I'm just getting sick. And it's because I'm sick of all the bullcrap on the internet.
Society teaching these young adults that parents should be seen and not heard. I wonder why they would be doing that. Could it be stripping parents away from control over the family and handing it off to society?
Girl, bye. I swear people like this want to blame literally everything and everyone else other than them damn selves. But now I am back because I have found something else, yes, to complain about, as always. It's my favorite thing to do. Truly, truly. I thought everything was going to be roses and daisies, you know, since my last video, but the only flowers and daisies that are occurring in this moment are the flowers and daisies we're going to be using for the funerals at this estranged mom's relationship with her kids.
The majority of the problems you faced in coping with your ungrateful adult kids is that you actually had raised a narcissist.
Anyways, I wonder why they went no contact with her. She seems so nice. Now, if you guys didn't watch my last video, which it seemed like a lot of y'all actually did, which thank you so much for that. I always appreciate my supporters watching my stuff. Y'all know I have been on a roll. Unfortunately, I just feel really sick and I'm not fully recovered, so I skipped a week. I know. I'm sorry, but I still love you guys so much, and that's why we have today. Now, my last video was on momfluencer Nika Diwa, and just the fact that over-records, over-shares absolutely everything in her life, including her marriage and how bad she wants to divorce her husband.
You ever cheat on me?
Absolutely.
As well as showing her kids how a C-section is performed on an orange.
We're gonna have to do a C-section. There's the baby!
Literally what is going on in this world. My video on momfluencer Nika Diwa really threw me through a loop. I'm pretty sure I got some bad juju from that video. That's probably why I'm feeling a little sick. Like the devil doesn't want me to expose the truth for real. The adversary is working against me. Y'all, I think it's the flu medicine that I took that's making me loopy and making me say all these crazy things. Just bear with me. I swear the dang thermoflu that I take at night has me waking up seeing freaking Casper the Ghost right on top of my bed frame, like for real. When it comes to momfluencers and mommy vloggers and family vloggers, I always feel like there's two different types of unhinged personalities that they can be boxed in. The first type of unhinged content that they make is stuff kind of like Nika Diwa, who overshare, overexploit, if you will, and post content like this, thinking that it's normal when really it's like, And then the second type is the lesser unhinged types of people, but still just as toxic, which isn't as common, but I feel like they are the most dangerous. It's like the same aura that was given to us by family mommy vloggers like Ruby Frankie and the 8 Passengers, where they're always seeming to be smiling and they're very calm when they talk, on camera of course.
Worth. Hey, I'm still recording!
But they insist that they are a great mom, that their kids love them and all these things, when in reality, she is nothing of the sort.
Somebody lied to her several times and told her that she was fly, hot, and sexy and beautiful, and she's nothing like that. She's nothing of the sort.
And that is the energy that I am getting from today's TikTok mom, the doormat mom.
We came before everyone else. They believe they should be at the head, a place they haven't earned yet.
Y'all, do not let the old lady smiling soft voice act fool y'all. Underneath that turtleneck, it's just pure villainous energy.
There is great ignorance in believing that you don't owe your parents anything because you didn't ask to be born. What about honor thy father and mother so that thy days be long in the land that the Lord thy God hath given thee?
Now, if you guys don't know who this is, how does it feel to not have brain rot right now? Apart from my body attacking me, I feel like doing research on this estranged mother made me lose brain cells and made me lose even more white cells that I need to heal myself. So like and subscribe, because I truly am doing a sacrifice for y'all. Now, the doormat mom on TikTok is a self-proclaimed good mom and parental expert, whatever that means. And her content is all about how her adult children went no contact with her. And I think you guys already know where I'm going with this. And no, her content isn't about how she wants to have a better relationship with her kids, or that she's sorry, or that she misses them. It's about how she's the victim.
I woke up this morning crying because that's what happens sometimes with strange parents.
Look, she's crying. Do you hear her crying? Like we care. I don't give a
how underappreciated she is, how neglected she is, and how her kids are just ungrateful pieces of crap who are lying liars who lie, especially about her. Apart from her unhinged TikToks, Laura Wellington, aka the Doormat Mom, is also an author. She made a whole book dedicated to her kids going no contact with her and released it on the very week of her daughter's wedding day. And she still insists that she's a good mom and that she's not a manipulating narcissist. Girl, me when I lie. How can someone be so delusional and play victim all in one swing? I don't get it. That has to be a talent to play that many roles as one person, and somehow all of them miss the point. Because you see, the doormat mom, her content is all about herself and her feelings, but also she wants other parents who have had their adult kids go non-contact with them to also feel her pain and how they're entitled to hate their kids and resent their kids for daring to set a boundary with them.
Constantly have their hand out, but they feel they have no strings attached to you. So it's you give me everything because you birthed me.
Right.
I don't have to, I owe you nothing.
Right. We've seen a lot of this.
They really believe like it's not.
not only to resent their kids for setting boundaries with them, but to even go as far as to break those boundaries by showing up to their grandchildren's school despite being told that they are not welcome in their grandchildren's lives from their children, by their children, and to just show up and stay in a corner to watch them from afar. Because you deserve it.
If you're a loving grandparent and your estranged adult kids refuse to allow you to see your grandkids, then you find out that those kids are going to be in a Christmas concert and you're local, don't not show up. Sit in the back if you have to, but take in the joy that comes from watching them perform. You deserve it.
Girl, what? That is how restraining orders start, okay?
I'm calling the police. Hello? Yes, this video right here. Jail time.
She really thinks that she deserves and is entitled to invading not only her own kids' boundaries, but teaching other parents how to invade their kids' boundaries. She actually went viral last year for just all of the stuff that I'm talking about, for just all of this unhinged stuff that she's been doing. And there has been many people who have made videos on her, especially about her book, her TikTok, and all of that stuff. In this video, not only do I want to deep dive into her book, yes, her TikToks, but I also want to talk about her background, because I don't think a lot of people have discussed just how weird it is. From selling books about dating, children books that flopped, her trying to create a dating app, her also being on a TED Talk where she says stuff like this.
And I laughed out loud. None of it nice, I know. It was unintentional, and at least I'm honest about it. That reaction caused these two women to turn towards me and draw me into their conversation. And what they got from me over the next hour were needed lessons. Lessons in self-respect. What did I get in return? I got gratitude. Suggestion that I write a needed dating book.
Nobody asked.
Like, the red flags were there to begin with, and nobody seems to be talking about it. Her background also includes her being a notorious anti-vaccines, is also pro-defunding the educational system, which, yeah, explains a lot. She is also a foster care parent and has 5 kids. It's starting to, things are starting to make sense. Things are starting to make sense. No hate against foster parents whatsoever, but you can tell that her stance on this stuff has nothing to do with taking care of kids, her wanting to provide children with a better future. It has everything to do with her.
Become a licensed foster parent and raise now 5 kids. Be surgeons, scientists, actors, and athletes. And I travel the world.
And despite everyone saying that she's crazy, that she has the most toxic takes and everything, y'all would be surprised to find out that people actually follow this woman and also feel the same way that she feels. There has been a rise of people going no contact with family members, even parents. I think the statistic is that it has risen up by 20%. Estrangement in general has become a lot more of a common topic to talk about, especially with younger generations, but also older generations. However, the older generation's take is one that's really filled with resentment and anger that they have no contact. And they don't seem to understand why they are in a position where their children are estranged from them. Just this mixture of Gen X and Boomer panic is not the best mix for the younger generation who wants to go no contact, because instead of them coming together and trying to self-reflect as to why their adult children are no longer in their lives, instead they make Facebook groups about being estranged and just kind of feed into this echo chamber as to why they're the ones that should have all the empathy. And that is how you get people like Doormat Mom on TikTok spewing the worst takes ever.
Could it be stripping parents away from control over the family and handing it off to society?
And honestly, I am here to deep dive into all of it because I truly do believe it's something bigger than just someone making crazy takes on TikTok. I always say this, the internet is a microcosm of what is going on in the real world, and this is no exception. So sit back, relax, take some medicine if you're sick, because I know I gotta grab some water, get into bed with me, and let's deep dive into today's video and as to why the doormat mom can't seem to make up with her kids. But speaking of makeup, the one thing that we are definitely making up with this year is our health. You ever catch yourself putting off like a doctor's appointment for the dumbest reasons? I'm just too busy, even though I know I be scrolling on TikTok for hours on end. Or girl, I'll just Google my symptoms instead, which then you find out that you only got 5 days left. We've all been there. But booking a doctor's appointment shouldn't feel like something you have been putting off. Thankfully, there is Zocdoc. Zocdoc makes it so easy to find and book doctors who actually take your insurance. You can search for in-network doctors across every specialty: mental health, dental, primary care, urgent care, you name it. You know exactly what you're getting, whether you want a doctor or one who won't keep you waiting forever. And the best part is that you don't have to wait like a billion years for a doctor's appointment. Most Zocdoc users get an appointment within 24 to 72 hours, and some even the same day. I use Zocdoc for my health, and you should too. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments, sis, and go to Zocdoc.com/Salem to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/Salem. Zocdoc.com/Salem. Do you guys ever wonder why some brands just seem to blow up overnight? Like one day you've literally never heard of this brand, then the next everyone and their Mimas are wearing this brand. Think about like Skims, Allbird. Yes, they've got products, they've got the marketing down. Here's the thing that no one really talks about: the business behind the business. And for millions of businesses, that secret is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. It's literally home to the #1 checkout on the planet, and if you hate abandoned cart, Shop Pay boosts conversations up to 50%, meaning way more sales and way fewer just browsing shoppers ghosting your cart. So if you're serious about growing your business or want to start selling something that you've always wanted to start selling, such as art crafts or candles or t-shirts, then you need a commerce platform that sells wherever your customers are scrolling and strolling on the web, because businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. So upgrade your business and get the same checkout Skims, Allbirds, and Alo use. Sign up now for $1 per month trial at shopify.com/SalemTovar. That's shopify.com/SalemTovar to start selling smarter today. All right, let's get into discussion topic 1.
Mother's Day is right around the corner, believe it or not. And for many of you estranged mamas, you won't be getting the cards, you won't be getting the calls, you won't be getting the flowers, you won't be getting any recognition at all. You get to celebrate that day too.
Discussion topic number 1. TikTok's The Doormat Mom, aka Laura Wellington, and her race to fame, and how she struck a gold mine by taking advantage of her own kids and manipulating other parents online.
Strange parents, going no contact, narcissistic parents, parents who believe in stuff like this.
And that is what's contributing to this estrangement epidemic happening today. Because instead of realizing that they're in the middle of the larger family, they believe they should be at the head, a place they haven't earned yet.
Girl. Family estrangement has become a lot more of a common thing nowadays, especially with the younger generation. It has become more of a thing, particularly with parents and their own children, to the point where research literally indicates that approximately 27% of Americans are estranged from at least one family member. Studies have specifically found that around 26% of adult children report being estranged from their fathers, while about 6% are estranged from their mothers. It really doesn't matter who you are, he, she, we, they, them, mother, father. If you are toxic, people are gonna go no contact with you, period. The topic of family estrangement has gained an increase of attention in recent years, with discussions becoming more prevalent in media and online platforms. This heightened its visibility, which has led to a broader understanding of the complexities surrounding such decisions. Now, a lot of people, when they hear no going, no contact, or estranged parents and everything, a lot of people kind of have like this image in their head of, you know, I just don't talk to my mom anymore because she's like so toxic. Like she didn't even let me ride her Benz the other day with my friend Tiffany. Girl, Buck you and your friend Tiffany. Unfortunately, family estrangement does not look like that. The reason why it's such a complex topic is because so many people have so many different reasons as to why their relationships end up in estrangement, and that's because it's often the last resort people use when it comes to these dynamics. Or at least boomers perceive it as the whole Tiffany situation. You know, I just made up that character. But a lot of estranged parents genuinely view their child as them being like entitled. They view them as like being brats of like, Brittany Lay just doesn't care about me anymore because I refuse to pay off her Tesla debt. Like, okay, we all know damn well that's not what it is. And sure, there may be some cases where that's the case, but if that's the case, girl, if your excuse for cutting off your parents is something as stupid as that, then there's no hope for you. Just wrap it up. Just wrap it up. However, common reasons why parents become estranged in the first place from their children is often because there has been a longer exposure to long-standing issues that have yet to go acknowledged or resolved. Some common reasons include toxic or even abusive behavior, which is emotional, verbal, or physical, narcissistic, controlling, or manipulative tendencies. Another is disrespecting boundaries. Another is the failure to acknowledge past harm, favoritism, family drama. There's just literally so many reasons that are all so valid that have nothing to do with what these Gen X and Boomer parents think it has to do with, if that makes sense. Along with the rise of parents becoming estranged and having their kids go no contact with them, another thing on the rise are these estranged parents not trying to self-reflect or say sorry or anything, to them just completely going crazy online because their child dared to set a boundary or told them, hey mom, I don't like how you comment on my body sometimes, it makes me feel bad. And then the parent is like, I can't believe my own child just tried socking me in the face. Oh, bye. Because y'all know there's some Hispanic moms out there like that. Like, bye. No, Hispanic moms really like, you tell them the word no, and then next thing you know, they're crying on the floor, calling all of your tias and tios, talking something crazy like, me pegaron. Bro, shut up, bro. And I'm laughing because it's too relatable. Like, it's not funny, but I mean, kind of sad that that's kind of a common experience with a lot of Hispanics. Anyways, speaking of being overly dramatic, that has been basically the response from a lot of estranged parents, not only in their personal life, but especially online. There is a lot of estranged parents just complaining online about being an estranged parent, and they just don't know why.
The last text she sent me was that she just needs space. And again, I discussed that. I'm like, I don't know, space from what? I'm not sure. Her lifestyle choices are very different than mine. Obviously, I have never pushed my thoughts, opinions, or choices onto her. Even the fact that I'm referring to her as a her, she would be very upset. So that will give you an idea of what I'm dealing with.
Girl, look around, everybody on mute. If they don't get it by now, I don't think they ever will. You see, rationally, a rational parent, when their child, says, hey, I might go no contact with you unless you fix this, this, and that. Usually a rational parent will self-reflect and even change. However, unfortunately, the most common thing that we've been... It's the doormat mom. She's at my front door. A lot of them will resort to denial and blame, as well as public venting. Some parents, especially like Doormat Mom on TikTok, express their frustration online, leading to even more criticism, but also a lot of people who are like, you know what, sis, you ate. I agree with you. Those people being also estranged parents who are refusing to acknowledge all the hurt that they put their kids through. TikTok's Doormat Mom, aka Laura Wellington. Girl, Laura Wellington? I don't even know if that's her real name, but I know that that's a name that she goes by. Was Mary Sue taken? What type of witness protection program name? Also, Laura Wellington, more like Beef Wellington, because she constantly has beef with the internet and her own damn kids. The Doormat Mom, also known as the Doormat Mom, literally that's her username on TikTok, has over 15,000 followers on TikTok, where she talks about her children who went no contact with her, how she deals with it, and how you too, as an estranged parent, can also deal with it by never acknowledging the harm that you've done, by insisting that you are a good parent, and by insisting upon the type of thinking such as this.
You have to stop apologizing. to your estranged kids. And if the only way that you can have a relationship with these kids is by acknowledging that their experience is the only one in the room, let them go.
To make other parents feel better about their situation instead of, growing and apologizing. Laura named herself the Doormat Mom because she has stated that that is how her kids have made her feel, like a doormat. Now, obviously, a doormat is a mat placed in a doorway on which people can wipe their shoes on when entering a building. It's also used as a term to describe a submissive person who allows others to dominate them. Now, are there parents like this out in the world? Absolutely. I mean, have you guys seen the chokehold those Cocomelon tablet kids have on their parents? I get it, okay? Shout out to you guys, even though it's low-key your fault for giving your kids an iPad in the first place. Anyways, however, the one thing about this doormat mom is that she's anything but submissive, and her version of being dominated by her children is just her children telling her how she made them feel. And she says that this is a type of trauma she has endured. Not trauma. Like, sis really isn't a doormat at all. She is the door that crushes your fingers when you're trying to get out of a house, okay?
The majority of the problems you faced in coping with your ungrateful adult kids is that you actually had raised a narcissist.
She describes herself as a self-described good mom, a writer, and a parenting expert, as well as a social and society expert. Girl, expert in where? Where'd you get the degree from? The University of Wumbo? Like, hello, what does that even mean? Despite her tooting her own horn and making up these make-believe labels, such as parenting expert, she's actually had some notoriety in the parenting world, such as being on the Sean Hannity show, Fox and Friends, and even Dr. Phil, which I'm gonna be honest, that's already a red flag to me. Anyone who's associated with Dr. Phil, who's also a fraud, is automatically sus in my eyeballs. Like the Cash Me Outside girl, Danielle Bergoli, like she had a point to expose his bald ass because he's not even a doctor, and his practices in itself are so problematic, like just sending kids to a farm that has notoriously had so many lawsuits and problematic things happen there as a way to like fix these problematic kids and stuff, even though it fails every single time, is just beyond me. And see, this is why he has no hair. Oh no, she's bald and she's torturing people who have hair. Like that's literally Dr. Phil.
Oh my gosh, she's bald! She's bald and she's torturing people who have hair!
Literally. So I'm not surprised that he would work with her and promote her. Now, Laura Wellington is someone who really enjoys attention, if you haven't noticed so far. Like, I don't know if you guys have eyeballs or anything, but she sis likes attention, okay? And she has kind of premeditated becoming famous for a very long time now, going down avenues of being on talk shows, being on Dr. Phil. Even before her TikTok, she dabbled in all sorts of things to see what could possibly be that stroke of luck for her. She made a couple of failed children's books, as well as many other books, such as What to Do When Jane Knows about dating. During the Panini, she also said that she felt very passionate about the loneliness epidemic and tried to launch a dating app with her app Sneaks, which ended up going nowhere. She also did a TED Talk all about how to become the woman every girl envies and all the guys want. And I listened to this TED Talk, and let me just tell you, everything makes sense.
Because this TED Talk was basically 20 minutes of her literally just talking about herself, her accomplishments, and how much she's just so amazing, in her eyeballs at least.
I'd go on to own a number of businesses, write several books, create an award-winning children's television series, launch a celebrity blog, become a licensed foster parent.
And when talking about her 5 adopted kids, she did not talk about them like they were humans, but instead achievements that make her look great.
And raise now 5 kids to be surgeons, scientists, actors, and athletes. And I travel the world.
Yeah, when I said it starts to make sense, it all starts to make sense. It even makes more sense when you deep dive into her content and realize the estranged child that went no contact with her was one of the many kids that did not become a surgeon, doctor, or actor. How convenient. It's almost as if the one child that did not serve her image to her likeliness just so happens to also be the one that got mistreated the most, so much to the point that it caused them to go no contact with her. And now she, aka the doormat TikTok mom, tries to enact revenge on her daughter all the time by making content like this.
Society has taught our adult kids from about the teenagers on that we should earn their respect. Let me say that again. We, good parents, should earn their respect instead of they should earn our respect. See, they expect respect to come as easily as unconditional love does. It's simple. Earn it.
I wonder why her kids are estranged. Looking more into her content on TikTok and her interviews and everything, you'll see quickly that Laura, the doormat mom, tends to kind of go back and forth into communities to see who will accept her, throwing darts at literally anything to see what will stick for her, such as being part of the anti-vaccine movement.
All I know is we unvaccinated parents of vaccinated adult children are living in perpetual hell. You decided not to get vaccinated. Why?
Hard as a parent when you spend 18 plus years protecting them to watch them make a decision that could not only alter their lives, but your own.
Which I find kind of ironic because the majority of states, when it comes to foster care, require the foster children to be vaccinated. But whatever. She's also someone who is pro homeschooling, which quite frankly, there's nothing wrong with being someone who likes to homeschool. However, it starts to get into problematic territory when you claim that basically public school education kids are dumber than homeschool kids, and being pro defunding the public educational system because you believe that's the reason why your kids went no contact with you to begin with is literally such a dumb sentiment to have.
Not only will dismantling the Department of Education help eliminate everything I wrote about in this book, but it'll help families get ahead of the estrangement epidemic happening in this nation. I have to believe those two things are part of the reason Grant Cardone pulled his kids out of public school. Kelsey Ray pushes the unschooling method. And Zook and his wife are looking for alternative educational options for their own kids through their foundation. I don't think any of these people are stupid.
Hey, Patrick, what am I now?
Stupid?
The public educational system did not make your kids go no contact with you. You yourself, being you, caused that to happen. Like, I don't know what's with these boomer and Gen X parents blaming literally everyone. They blame SpongeBob for the gays. They blame the educational school system for Cocomelon kids. They blame literally anyone but themselves for the outcomes that they themselves implemented or for things that literally aren't even a problem to begin with. And if you're wondering, homeschool, anti-vaccines, defunding public education system, it sounds like she might be part of the very strange movement that we're seeing right nowadays. I wonder if she's also, yes, she also uses the Bible a lot and compares herself to Jesus. She compares herself to Jesus because she herself has been persecuted and oppressed just as him by her own kids. Literally, what the fuck? This can't be real, y'all. This can't be real. Unfortunately, y'all, this is real. This is real. Now, when she isn't busy trying to come up with something new every 2 to 5 business days for her to garner more attention and money, and when she isn't busy believing in the most heinous, problematic crap ever, or weaponizing the Bible to make herself feel better for the fact that her kids don't talk to her, then she's always writing books that seem to flop. Her most recent book being Doormat Mom, No More, when good parents finally say enough to their ungrateful adult kids, which by the way has 2 stars on Amazon and 89 reviews, as well as 1 star on goodreads.com. So y'all know it's a banger. Like, it's a must read. Like, Harry Potter who? Oh y'all, I forgot Harry Potter problematic now too. I forgot. The description of the book underneath being, this author is viral on TikTok for igniting this conversation between good parents and their ungrateful adult kids. Thus, many adult kids trolls are leaving 1-star reviews here to crush the book and conversation, resulting in even more of a reason that good parents should get it. Girl, we know what you're trying to do. We get it. You're trying to make it seem like I'm oppressed, and I'm oppressed because it's the truth. Is that what you call it? If the book is cheeks, then it's cheeks. Like, there's nothing that you can do to stop it, you know? Now, the whole book is about this. Did you leap tall buildings in a single bound for your kids while raising them? Love them? Sacrifice for them? Support them? Do whatever it took to be the best parent that you could be to them, minus a few unremarkable mistakes no worse than any other parent made? Did you attempt to give them the world? And now that they're all grown up, they behave as if they're completely ungrateful towards you. They criticize your parenting of them, demand that everything that you gave them you owed, and insist that nothing of what you did for them was good enough. None of it warrants appreciation, a relationship, or even a visit. Girl, the way that you were talking, by the way, I'm not even halfway through the description of the book. She sounds like a villain. This sounds like an anime villain ass speech. A speech that they give you before, fighting you. None of it warrants appreciation, a relationship, or even a visit. Are you tired of being a doormat? This book is for you. Girl, not me. Look somewhere else. Look somewhere else. There's an epidemic going on in the United States where really good parents are coping with really ungrateful adult kids, and no longer are they willing to accept the shame, blame, or insane treatment that these adult kids are dishing out. Thousands of good parents are banding together and speaking up regarding where the fault for this mania. Mania? She calls it mania. Truly lies, as well as what they are doing to cope. If you are one of them, this book is for you. If this book is for you, and if you read that and thought, oh my god, that's exactly how I feel, please get help. Oh my god, please get help. What? You should not be able to relate to any of that. And if you guys think that the description alone and who this person is who's writing this book, Laura, aka the Doormat Mom, is pretty bad, the contents in the book are even worse.
There is great ignorance in believing that you don't owe your parents anything because you didn't ask to be born. What about honor thy father and mother, so that thy days be long in the land that the Lord thy God hath given thee?
Discussion topic 2. TikTok's The Doormat Mom's manifesto about her ungrateful kids and how she has suffered just as Jesus did. Girl, I'm not exaggerating, by the way. Oh Lord, okay.
In this estranged TikTok Doormat Mom's book, even the reviews will tell you that this book is not good. One review on Amazon being 1 star by user NJO, incredibly out of touch, entitled author who refuses to admit she's wrong. DoormatMomNoMore promises empowerment, but instead delivers a toxic, condescending guide that insults its readers while promoting a selfish, disconnected approach to parenting and life. Rather than offering parental advice, the book is a thinly veiled manifesto of resentment, rife, and outdated stereotypes and questionable tough love strategies that do more harm than good. It doesn't empower readers to make healthier choices. It encourages them to adopt an unbalanced, entitled perspective that prioritizes their own convenience over meaningful relationships. And honestly, that person ate with that response, because this book truly is all of that. The core problem with this book is that the author's pervasive victim mentality. They assume every reader is a selfless, overworked martyr whose family takes them for granted and who must now become their own top priority at all costs. While the idea of setting boundaries is important, the way it's presented here is not healthy or constructive. The advice boils down to abandoning all empathy, sympathy, and becoming emotionally detached from those around you, especially family. The author seems to believe that the only way to gain power is to stop caring altogether, a deeply cynical and destructive mindset. Which is pretty ironic considering that the doormat TikTok mom wants sympathy and empathy from her own kids. Now, I'm not gonna necessarily deep dive into the entirety of this book. I didn't buy it. I'm gonna be honest and say that I didn't even read the whole thing, because why would I? It's trash.
I call it bold and brash. More like belongs in the trash. Ah!
if you want a deep dive into the book and everything, I highly recommend this video by fellow YouTuber Psychology with Dr. Anna. She is literally so fierce, an educated woman, if you will, who psychoanalyzes this book by the TikTok Doormat Mom and kind of deep dives into it as to why it's so problematic and her, professional viewpoint on it. I highly recommend it. So go ahead and give that a watch if you want actual in-depth analysis of this book, because y'all, it's crazy. I'm just going to give the summary and talk about the main points that really stood out to me, because even just 3 points out of the book will make you understand as to why this TikTok mom is so, not all the way there. When Laura Wellington, aka the Doormat TikTok mom, made this book, she said that she wanted to aim for like 3 points, one of them being emphasis on parental sacrifice, such as discussing the sacrifices parents make for their children and the pain of being mistreated or estranged by them in adulthood, even after all that was given to them, which already is a red flag to me. I feel like nowadays, whenever, Gen X or boomer parents talk about children and having children, there is like this really weird ownership vibe to it of kind of being like, oh, you owe me for being born and you are going to take care of me in retirement, even though it's like, girl, your kids literally owe you nothing. You chose to have the kids. What do you mean they owe you? You chose to have the kids. They don't owe you anything. They have to grow up and start their own lives at one point. Like, what? I never understood that type of thinking ever. And also these so-called sacrifices that are often being labeled as sacrifices truly aren't even sacrifices. It's like bare necessities and the bare minimum like living stuff that kids need in order to grow, like food, a roof over their head, water.
Food, water, atmosphere,
clothes. Like, those aren't sacrifices. Those are things that you had to have in order for a kid to grow up and be alive in that, it's just the bare necessities. Like, what? Her second point was societal influences. She wanted us to really think about the societal influences as to why this is happening.
And adult kids today arises from society teaching these young adults that parents should be seen and not heard. I wonder why they would be doing that. Could it be stripping parents away from control over the family?
While editing this video, I just realized who this woman reminds me of. Bro, is she not the human version of Miss Simeon from Gumball?
I understand. Really? That's so sweet of you.
Twins. She attributes the rise in parental estrangement to societal changes that allegedly warp the minds of children, leading to unrealistic parenting standards and strained family relationships, such as the public school system and therapy. Of course, sis would be anti-therapy. Of course she would. The third being empowerment for parents. This book aims to empower parents to stand up against perceived mistreatment by their adult children and to push back against the blame and shame they experience. Of course, instead of maybe, self-reflecting for a second and maybe realizing they're the problem. She would never do that. That'd be too good of advice, guys. And that's clearly not, that hasn't been her spiel up until now, especially as someone who thinks giving advice like this.
Parents, stop trying to help and heal your ungrateful adult kids.
Is rational, or who has takes like this.
If you're a loving grandparent and your estranged adult kids refuse to allow you to see your grandkids, sit in the back if you have to, but take in the joy that comes from watching them perform. You deserve it.
Like, she really thought she ate, but she didn't. She left crumbs all over the place. The book talks about how basically all of her kids are chill, they're successful, except for her youngest daughter. Which, first of all, I'm going to pause already there. I am the youngest in my family. Shout out to all my youngest siblings out there. Y'all are survivors for real. I don't even have to explain anything. People always perceive the youngest as being spoiled and everything. And I remember I talked about this with my other friend who's also the youngest in her family, and we both agreed everyone is always so busy talking about how spoiled and how good you have it that no one's actually spoiling you or allowing you to have anything good. Like, if anything, they go out of their way to make sure you don't have those things, because there's this perception that you're like entitled and a brat and everything, and then it's like, no, actually I'm always constantly being bullied. But anyways. And of course, her mom shares the sentiment too by labeling her daughter a vagabond. If y'all don't know what a vagabond means, it's a person who wanders from place to place without a home or job. I'm gonna start using that. That's crazy. That's crazy, bro. Like, She really called her daughter a bum. She literally called her daughter a bum, which first of all, her daughter actually was not a bum. She constantly asked her mom to help her pay for college. Her mom said no, which that's between, parent and child. I know everyone's different. I was fortunate enough for my parents to help me out through college, and I could not be more grateful for that. I know not a lot of people get that privilege, but her daughter was a nomad and just made money along the road. Like, who cares? She just had more of a free life. Like, go you. I stan already.
I personally don't see anything wrong with being a young person who doesn't necessarily have a super planned out life ahead of them and are just spending their days traveling, experiencing new things, and if they're still able to feed themselves and have somewhere to sleep at night that's safe, honestly, is more than successful in my eyes. However, we all know by looking back at Laura Wellington's, aka the Doormat Mom's, TED Talk that her definition of success is anything but that. She wants her kids to grow up to be surgeons, actors. So to have that one child that did not live up to her definition of success was automatically deemed the black sheep and is unfortunately the star of her book. Her book, Doormat Mom No More, when good parents finally say enough to their ungrateful adult kids.
The reason why she called her daughter a vagabond as well is because her daughter wanted a wedding location that her mom didn't approve of. Like, she lived all the way in Australia, met a man in Australia, and was like, oh, we're gonna have the wedding in Australia. And her mom was like, I don't approve of this. And I don't approve of the guy who asked you to marry him either. And if you're thinking, well, that's fine. Like, what if the guy was really like horrible, mother knows best. She said the reason why she disapproved is because the guy was supposedly too good for her daughter. Girl, what? This is some hater shit. Low-key, this is some hater shit. Like, that's weird. That is really weird. Don't you want your child to have the absolute best? Like, what do you mean their future partner is too good for them?
That's suspicious. That's weird.
Despite all the friction, she still decided to get married, and she also wanted to include her mom in wedding dress shopping, because why wouldn't she? Well, apparently, while they were wedding dress shopping, the mom told the daughter that her dress options were too, revealing, and the daughter got offended by that, which rightfully so. And basically, the doormat mom explains she doesn't understand how she possibly offended her daughter, and that her daughter was crazy for not only daring to marry this man that was too good for her, but also choosing a revealing wedding dress. Which, first of all, what even is a revealing wedding dress? I feel like no matter how revealing you make a wedding dress to be, it's not revealing. I mean, unless sis is wearing pasties, white pasties that are bedazzled and her cooch is out, then maybe I understand. But other than that, truly there is no way to make a wedding dress inappropriate. Now, we have heard plenty of times older generations tell the younger generations that they dress inappropriately. If this is a wedding and everything, the only thing that automatically jumps to my mind is her body shaming her in some sort of way, because this is very common for the older generation to body shame. That's something that they kind of grew up with. If you were a girl that kind of just went through puberty earlier, I know in many cultures, it was just very normalized, even growing up, even me growing up, for people to comment on that if you went through puberty earlier, that, oh, she's gonna be a stink, she's gonna be a slime, slut shame them and sexualize them and everything. And they kind of would make it seem like there's stuff that you cannot wear, because when you wear it, it's bad, but everyone else can wear it. And it just doesn't feel good. I also went through that, and it just never, ever, ever felt good. And I can only imagine going through that on your wedding day. Doormat Mom comes back in her book to say that her daughter said that she was being body shamed by her mom and being fat shamed, and that the Doormat Mom's response was that she didn't even know what that was, and no, she wasn't. Just because you don't know what something means doesn't mean that it didn't happen. You know what I mean? I can't. This eventually led to the daughter uninviting her mom to the wedding. Some of y'all might think that that's extreme, but keep in mind, this is someone who's had tension with her own daughter for years now. Her mom calling her daughter a loser, saying that her partner's too good, not approving of the marriage, saying that her daughter looked bad in every wedding dress. It just, why would you want that negative energy there? And because of this, the estranged doormat TikTok mom then goes on in her book to talk about the concept of a good enough parent, which at first that sounds like, oh, being a good enough parent. But what she's referring to is actually a study that is bullshit. But anyways, so the concept of a good enough parent originates from the work of British pediatrician and psychoanalyst Donald Winnicott in the 1950s, who coined the phrase good enough mother, which later expanded to encompass good enough parent. The idea of good enough parent was a way to describe a parent who provides a sufficient level of care and responsiveness rather than striving for perfection. Winnicott argued that parents don't need to be perfect to raise healthy children. Instead, they should aim to be good enough by meeting their children's needs consistently and providing a secure and nurturing environment. The good enough concept recognizes that parents will inevitably fail their children at times, and that these failures can actually be beneficial for the child's development, helping them learn to cope with frustration and build resilience. This study found that it was actually good for parents to become somewhat less responsive to their children's needs as they grow older and become more independent. Now, there is so much I could talk about in this section. Like, this in itself could be a whole video. Now, obviously, I get what they're going for. I do think that being overly responsive and being overly like in your kid's space and wanting to do absolutely everything for them can stunt their independence and everything. But I feel like a lot of people misuse this study and the good enough parent to justify their crappy parenting, such as this doormat mom, which are we surprised that she brought up this study to justify all the stuff I've been talking about so far. The misinterpretation of good enough can be misinterpreted as an excuse for neglect or poor parenting, which leads to parents feeling like they don't need to do their best or even good at all, which seems to be what the doormat mom is suffering from. There's also an over focusing on the children's resilience rather than the parents' responsibility, which also seems to be what the doormat mom is suffering from too. Well, I mean, resilience is important. Parents should also focus on meeting their children's needs and providing them with the support that they need to thrive. And the thing is that every child's needs are completely different and vastly different from one kid to the next. Some kid might need a lot more in order to thrive. Some kids may need less in order to thrive. It's not just a blanket statement. So if your kid needs more of you and has more specific needs in order to thrive and you're not giving that to them, then they're not going to thrive. And it seems like the doormat mom might have had a kid who needed more of a, specific needs or more needs type of kid. And very often this leads to parents feeling resentful against their kids for like not being the way that they want them to be. And I just think that's so ridiculous. It's like, if you're not anticipating for your kid to not be like what you thought they were going to be in your imagination, you should probably not have kids.
Especially if you adopt them just in hopes that they all become surgeons and actors.
The book kind of ends with her talking about how she turned to faith to really help her be guided through this tough passage, if you will, comparing herself and her struggles to Jesus and how she is also a martyr, questioning the severity of her daughter's actions and reflecting on her own trauma and understanding. Not for the daughter's benefit, by the way, but for her own benefit, and how at the end of the day, what you should do is not care about your kids and how they're making you suffer by telling you that they didn't like how you talked to them when you were wedding dress shopping, but to instead make a book on how you are the ultimate victim and then release it on the actual week of your daughter's wedding day. Yeah. That's what the doormat estranged mom did, which in itself is completely insane. And if you want your kids to forgive you and to have contact with you again and everything like that, I don't think making a book about how mad you are at her and how she's the one who actually abused you and releasing it next to her wedding day is going to help solve anything. If anything, it would make me, I'm not even her daughter, and even I want to go no contact with her. Like, damn. This book truly encapsulates how disconnected from reality and accountability she is from her own life and her own literal consequences that she created with her own children, that it's actually kind of audibly gaspingly crazy to think about. And all of these things that she talks about in her book can be echoed throughout her TikTok. And trust me, it is just as unhinged. She talks constantly about invading people's boundaries, how to invade your kids' boundaries, how your kids are actually the selfish ones and they are the ones manipulating you, how she will never say sorry and how other parents shouldn't say sorry, how she's the victim, and how relationships actually aren't worth mending.
She even goes as far as to say that kids who do set boundaries and go no contact with their parents are the real narcissists in the relationship.
Coping with your ungrateful adult kids is that you actually had raised a narcissist and you never even realized it. It never even occurred to you because you had no idea what that meant at the time.
Her tone and body language and language of choice is also just really off-putting, pointed, snarky, and just gives off the energy that she's just very full of herself. People have also called her out for her body language being deceptive in itself, as she makes a lot of faces, kind of like, yeah, I know I'm right, meanwhile being very loudly wrong, as well as blinking a ton while she makes a statement which can be tied to deceptive behavior. I think it's just safe to say that her whole general aura and way of being and speaking just reeks of narcissistic behavior and tendencies, and just so prideful and completely unempathetic, all while demanding all the empathy and understanding in the world.
She posted a TikTok recently all about her take on daughter-in-laws, and she has the exact attitude that you would expect, which is, well, my generation suffered, so therefore you have to suffer too. Why should I make things easier for you? That's not fair.
Being a daughter-in-law today is no harder than it was being one yesterday. The difference is when we were doing it, we understood that the letter I fell in the middle of the word family, and that is what's contributing to this estrangement epidemic happening today. Because so many daughters-in-law are choosing to be the dynamite. Because instead of realizing that they're in the middle of the larger family, they believe they should be at the head, a place they haven't earned yet. And then they wonder why they blow up themselves in the end. You're the middle.
And that explains so much. People like this who are like, they have kids and then they're like, I just want my kids to have an easier life than I did. And then the kid literally does have an easier life than them. Then they're like, what the? I don't think I like it anymore. Like, bitch, what did you expect was gonna happen? I don't get it. And this is an attitude that not only the TikTok doormat mom has, but a lot of estranged parents in general have. This really weird sense of entitlement and how they just don't want to accept the fact that they could possibly be the problem. And this type of thinking of, well, I suffered so you have to suffer, is the reason why people go no contact in the first place. Because these people don't believe in reconciliation. They don't believe in I'm sorries. They don't believe in self-reflection. And they also don't believe in self-improvement. And honestly, I don't blame any of these kids for going no contact with any of y'all. I would do it too. Like, that's crazy, dude.
Now, I briefly mentioned throughout this video that she is a so-called Christian, and even in her book said that faith in finding Jesus was the one thing that helped her go through this whole no contact thing that she's now facing. Now, I'm not judging her for turning to Christ or religion for healing. If anything, I'm like, you know, anyone finds religion or God in any situation, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But to compare herself to Jesus and say basically that she's a martyr for essentially sacrificing her love for her ungrateful kids, is just so crazy to me. Like, sis is really pulling a Kanye West with that one. But not only that, the whole point of Jesus's love is to be sacrificial. I've said in a lot of my videos that I am a PK, a pastor's kid. My parents used to own their own church. So whenever I see people speak about God and religion like this in a self-serving aspect, I always find super ironic, because in the Bible it literally says that Jesus's love is sacrificial and not resentful, which is exactly what the doormat mom is being and doing. And not only that, she's also very, very, very prideful, which is something that God also really hates in the Bible. If she was a true Christian and truly loved Jesus, then she would know that in Proverbs 16:5 it literally states that the Lord detests a proud heart. Proud meaning the opposite of humble and not willing to apologize, become better, or give grace, such as to her kids. Or the mere fact that her approach to daughter-in-laws is, I suffered, so you have to suffer too, which again is the exact opposite of Jesus's teachings. If she was also a true believer, she would know in 1 Corinthians 13:4 4-8, the Bible describes love as this, that love is patient, it's kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it's not self-seeking, it's not easily angered, and it keeps no records of wrongs. I just think that's so funny because she genuinely weaponizes the Bible to fit her own agenda, yet everything that she believes in, everything that she supposedly believes in and preaches, she does the exact opposite. If she really cared about being a good Christian and stuff, she would make amends with her kids, grow as a person, and not extend the hate of generational curses such as bullying a person coming into the family, but instead extend grace and extend understanding as Christ would. And again, she clearly just doesn't get that. And the reason why I'm making this a dedicated section to talk about is because a lot of estranged parents, such as the doormat mom, very often use faith as a weapon despite actual Bible verses and knowing what Jesus represents being the exact opposite of everything they believe, say, and would do. And I just find that so mind-boggling. It is all very, very ironic.
Because these are parents who constantly want to choose their own anger, resentment over personal growth and an actual genuine relationship with their kids.
Final discussion topic. Is this the age of entitled children? Or is it the age of bare minimum parenting?
When it comes to the doormat mom and blaming therapy and the educational school system and modern day society, I'm not gonna lie to you, I could see where she's coming from. Hold on, hold your horses, okay? Hold your horses. Let me cook a little bit. I barely put in the oil. I know the oil might be splashing you a little bit, but let me cook. When it comes to modern society and how the relationship is being formed between young kids and then their parents who are part of other generations and stuff, I do genuinely believe that there is a disconnect that is being formed by modern society, but not for the things that the doormat mom thinks, such as vaccines and entitlement and therapy and all type of stuff. I do believe it's more so surrounding gentle parenting, and y'all already know how I feel about gentle parenting. I don't think that it's an effective way of parenting. I think very often it can go into permissive parenting, and that's why you have so many kids rolling on the floor, yelling and cussing at their parents, spitting at their parents over a damn iPad game. That is just crazy. And then the mom is like, little Billy, don't do that. Here's your Bluey. Ain't no way, bro. That's permissive parenting. And that is kind of already setting up your kids for failure, to be overly reactive, to be not very good at regulating their emotions, especially when they don't get their way, which that will happen a lot in life. I do also think that unfortunately westernized therapy can be very dismissive of real life and often have a privileged take, which can lead to more of a self-centered approach to life in general, which is why I think we are seeing this kind of main attitude with Gen Z of being overall unappreciative, cold, and unempathetic and unsympathetic in a lot of situations, not only with strangers on the internet, but also with their parents or friendships and everything. I'm not gonna lie, Gen Z tends to be a generation that gives up very, very easily. They don't see the value in fixing a problem. Whenever there's one problem that arises in some sort of relationship, whether it's a dating relationship or friendship, they automatically just cut it off. And then meanwhile, the red flag is something that truly isn't necessarily a red flag, but something that can be worked through, or is maybe just a habit or miscommunication. So maybe that could be leading to some people feeling entitled and cutting off their parents or cutting off people over the silliest things. But truly, I don't think that this is the majority of the reason why this is happening. I really don't. When it comes to having kids and then having parents and stuff, there will always be this generational attitude divide. And very often I see a lot of parents get frustrated with this generational divide with the attitudes, what's poppin', what's popular, what isn't popular, popular, what are the conversations people are having, what they aren't. And instead of being open to it, listening to their kids, trying to understand their generation, because in that way it would be easier to reach them, instead they get frustrated or get angry and respond like a damn caveman to their kids. I genuinely do believe that this kind of has to do with boomer panic. I'm not gonna lie. Many estranged parents, especially those in the boomer and Gen X generations, fall into boomer panic narratives. When their children go no contact and self-reflection, they frame estrangement as a sign of a failing generation. Kids today's just don't have any respect for their parents. This generation is so soft, they just can't handle tough love. Therapy and social media are brainwashing them against this. I guess. I mean, instead of asking, why did my child leave? Have we always had these problems and I just never noticed? Have I been making things about me? Is it truly a failing generation, or is it that generations are becoming more aware of abuse and becoming more intolerant with mistreatment and just want to be heard and seen? Many estranged parents will also blame social media and therapy. They claim therapy has brainwashed their children into villainizing them, which again, I do think that might be a problem with westernized therapy. Kind of like many therapists will tell people of color, well, we'll just cut off your family members, even though it's like, I am 25 and I still live with my parents. And no, it's not because I financially can't afford to move out, but it's part of our culture. How does that work? So I do think it's dismissive, but I don't think there's necessarily like some sort of secret hidden agenda to have all your kids hate their parents, blarg, you know? They do think TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube have amplified conversations about narcissistic parents, trauma, and going no contact, making some parents feel personally attacked, which, I mean, if the shoe fits, then the shoe fits, y'all. Like, that's all I can say. Instead of acknowledging their role in the estrangement, they blame influencers and therapists for turning their kids against them. But one of the biggest things I've noticed is that there is a huge entitlement with the parents, which is so ironic because that is what they're blaming the kids for having. There is a victim mentality and a rewriting history almost in their brains where they'll say things like, after everything I've done for them, this is how they repay me. I gave them food, a roof over their head, and they think they had it so bad. I had it way much worse. They're just making up trauma and things that just didn't happen. Also, I'm so sorry if me saying the examples of these Gen X and boomer parents are triggering for you. I know for a fact we have all heard at least one of those in our lifetime. And it's so frustrating because they really do be jumping. Like, many estranged parents fall into the I was the perfect parent denial instead of recognizing their past mistakes. And that literally adds so much fuel to the fire, because the point is not that you gave me food or shelter and stuff like that. It's the fact that you weren't there for me in other ways, which is just as traumatizing if someone is there for you all the time. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, but there is such thing as a lack of involvement being just as traumatizing as someone being overly involved. And I feel like a lot of parents struggle to find a good balance of this. When a parent doesn't stand up for you, when a parent doesn't stand up for your boundaries with other family members, or they don't like feed you words of life and everything, that can be so traumatic because it feels almost like you are a burden onto your kids. And the way that you defeat that is just by, telling your kids that they're not a burden, that you do love them. It's truly just as easy as that. But a lot of parents can't even be bothered to do that. Parents who are overly involved in their children's lives can be very, traumatic as well. When your parent is too overly involved, not meeting your other kids' needs, I don't want to keep using the terms traumatic, but it can just feel very dismissed and make kids feel like they're not worth putting in the, next level of effort. When parents say things such as, but I gave you food and water, that is literally the basic needs on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like, it's literal science. And if you guys don't know what that is, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a motivational theory that suggests humans are driven by a hierarchy of needs, starting with basic physiological needs and progressing to higher level of needs like safety, belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. The first one being psychological needs. These are the most basic needs for survival, including food, water, shelter, sleep, and breathing. And this is often the only tier that many of our parents' needs were met at as kids, which is why they're like, why would I need to give you more? Because the next step is safety needs. And let's be so real, a lot of our parents, especially in the older generation, a lot of people didn't grow up with safety. Some people grew up in abusive destructive homes, in homes where they had to feel like they're walking on eggshells. So they don't really know how that looks like. But safety needs is once physiological needs are met, individuals seek safety and security, including personal security, financial security, and health. Once they have that, you would ask for the next, which is love and belonging. After safety, people seek social connections and relationships, including friendships, family, and romantic relationships. I feel like this is the tier that a lot of Gen Z is stuck at and is struggling with the most, because there is a rise of estrangement and going no contact with parents, but also we're struggling a lot in the dating scene, which is why there's such a cultural clash there with the older generations and Gen Z, because we're in completely different tiers. The next tier would be self-esteem needs. At this level, individuals desire respect, recognition, and a sense of accomplishment, both from themselves and others. And then the final tier would be self-actualization, which is the highest level where individuals strive to reach their full potential and pursue their passions and goals. As you can tell, not many people reach that because not everyone can live based off of passion, but they need to live off of paying their bills. And I think the reason why I bring that up is because a lot of estranged parents don't understand that every human being that is adopted or birthed, whatever, deserves to at least be given the opportunity to reach self-actualization. And just because you were just given the basic needs doesn't mean that your kids' needs should stop there too. That's so unfair, and I will never understand that. If you ever truly loved your kid, you will do everything it takes to resolve that relationship, to swallow your pride and just love them and meet them to who they are now. They might not be, the same little Billy that they were 5 years ago, and that's because people grow, people change. Maybe your kid is already at self-actualization. Maybe your kid is still wanting to have you at basic needs. Your child is your child forever. Just because you kick them out at 16 doesn't mean that they stop being your child. Just because they get married doesn't mean that they stop being your child. Just because your children have children doesn't mean that they stop being your child. And so that love and dedication and that wanting to give them their needs shouldn't stop either. There's this really weird just belief that you need to stop providing for your kids once they're an adult. But what if that adult wants to revisit that relationship with you through basic needs or through the safety part of Maslow's hierarchy of needs that they didn't get at home? What if their home wasn't safe and they're trying to tell you that growing up it wasn't safe, I didn't feel safe, so I haven't been able to move on to self-actualization or something like that. Now, all of this that I'm saying seems very, scientific and seems a lot more of how I would kind of explain things to an estranged relationship, parent and child. But truly what it boils down to is just say you're damn sorry. Just say your damn sorries. Listen to what your kid is trying to tell you. What is it that they need from you? You have the opportunity to fall in love with this newer version of your child. And it's such a beautiful thing to experience. Like, why would you pass it up? Healing from no contact isn't just about getting your child back. It's about becoming the kind of parent they would want to reconnect with. It's creating a new relationship with a new type of person that your child is becoming. Even if reconciliation never happens, focusing on self-growth, accountability, and emotional healing can also bring peace, which is something that it seems like the, doormat mom can't seem to achieve or wrap her head around, that it's that easy.
Like, I'm pretty sure it takes more work to find content to complain about every single day and post on your TikTok, as well as run a whole Facebook group of bitter, estranged parents, which is the solution many estranged parents are seeking nowadays. And the doormat mom is like the final boss version. She and parents like her are putting in more effort into complaining, making TikToks, going on social media complaining, than putting in an effort to rekindling a relationship with their estranged kids. Like, it's already cringe to see your parents on TikTok. Imagine seeing your parents on TikTok and they're also complaining about you. Put that energy towards something more positive. Encourage others to reflect, grow, and genuinely sit down and maybe consider that saying things like this and internalizing things like this.
Parents, stop trying to help and heal your ungrateful adult kids. If you are giving your ungrateful adult kids more of a runway, you need to stop that. That comes with less.
You have to stop apologizing to your estranged kids.
They believe they should be at the head, a place they haven't earned yet.
No. You're not going to hand her a gift as she's kicking you out the door.
You actually had raised a narcissist.
It's probably not going to get you closer to your child anytime soon.
And honestly, quite frankly, the real problem was never about her being a doormat mom or any of these estranged parents being doormats. It's that they expected their kids to be the welcome mat forever. Alright guys, that is it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys watched this entire thing up until the end, first of all, thank you so much. You win an internet hug. Here you go. Comment down a duck emoji so I know that you watched the entire thing. Give it a like, give it a subscribe. Hit the notification bell as well next to the subscribe button so you're notified whenever I upload so you can get a lot more content like this. Make sure that y'all subscribe. I really want to get to 1 milli very soon, maybe by the end of the year. If y'all can get hoes like Ash Trevino and problematic people like James Charles to like 11 million, y'all can get me to 1 million, okay? Just saying, just saying. Make sure to comment down below as well. Join, you know, the conversations that we're going to be having. Remember to keep it cute, keep it cordial. Y'all know the drill or else I'm gonna block you. What is your opinion on the whole estranged parent movement? Do y'all have a parent like doormat mom? If so, condolences. Just let me know what your thoughts are below this whole crazy situation. If you guys haven't already, make sure to follow me on Instagram at _SalemTovar_. I'm going to be uploading some really fun content there soon, so make sure to give me a follow on my Instagram. I also have a podcast, so if you guys want to follow me and my voice to the bathroom or while you do laundry or while you cook, you can check out my podcast called the Salem Tovar Podcast on Spotify, Apple Music, literally everywhere. Give it a good review. And with that being said, that is it for today's video. Y'all know I always give you guys something to do after every single video. The only thing that I want you guys to do is don't deal with the bullcrap. Like, have a self-care day, y'all. Have a self-care day. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.